Hey everybody, what's up? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Morena Baccarin's here with us. Season 2 of the Twilight Zone on CBS All Access. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So just watched your episode this morning of the show, and like all the Twilight Zone episodes, there's so many different fascinating levels to it. So this is an iconic brand in TV history. So what was it like jumping on to season 2?
It was great. Obviously, I knew the show and grew up watching some episodes here and there. I can't say I remember all of them. It was a while ago. So it was really fun. And as I was doing it, I realized just how iconic that world is and how confusing it is to be in a Twilight Zone episode.
It's super confusing to watch. I can't even imagine being in it, keeping up with the storylines and all that. And even just the themes in your episode, it's like you don't really know what reality is. You don't really know who you are. And then this concept of you work your whole life for something and it may not actually be real. So what was it like unpacking all those things?
It was a lot. You know, it's one episode of television, so it's somewhat short, but there is so much in it. It's so dense. And every day that I would go to work, I would feel utterly exhausted, just emotionally figuring out at what point of the story we were. And when you think about Michelle, my character, discovering that she is part of this game and not actually a real person, that's a devastating thing. I mean, it's almost like a death of the ego of the person, and then having to come to terms with that while also then realizing you have this other person that you also are. I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah, it's super weird. And also just the fact it's like the moment she finally becomes manager, she's worked to get here her whole life, and then it's gone. And it kind of really puts things in priority in terms of like what actually matters in life. I'm sure those are some thoughts you have while doing this thing.
Yeah, it was really interesting. You know, we tie our identity to our jobs and our value in life and in society to what we've accomplished and what we've done, what clothes we have, who we have in our lives. And then when you kind of strip all of that away, you're left with this question of who am I really and what matters.
And then how am I going to roll after knowing all this information? Like, who do I want to be also? Because some people are just like, I'm in to play the game. And some people are like, no, screw this. I just want to do my own thing. So I think that's pretty interesting too.
And complicated by the fact that the person that she is or was is in a coma, you know, is in a medically induced coma. So does she go back to that life and try to, you know, just roll the dice and see, you know, does that person come back? Is that who I am? Or does she stay in this universe that she knows is not really reality, but is where she wants to be?
So you've worked with a lot of really talented people. When you think about the world that Jordan Peele has created here, what is most interesting to you? Like, what separates him in terms of some of the other people you've worked with?
Well, you know, I know that the subject matters that he hits are often very interesting and very relevant to what's happening in the world. So I was excited to dive into something, and then we didn't really realize just quite how relevant it was going to be until all of this, you know, unrest and pandemic and everything that's going on in the world happened. So it was, you know, timely by accident. But, you know, I think that's sort of the beauty of working with Jordan Peele and the writers that he writes with and his companies. You know, he is interested in the human condition, and that is something that's always relevant.
So going off of that, you mentioned just how physically taxing this role was. What do you think was most rewarding in terms of playing the role of Michelle and just being on this episode?
I mean, having an opportunity to dive into a world that is difficult and that is messes with your sense of reality and makes you ask yourself some really big questions is always a humbling experience and a really great opportunity. I loved working with J.D. Dillard, the director, and I loved working with writers and reconnected with an old high school friend who's a producer with Jordan. And it was just really nice time, you know, to spend doing a job that really felt like much more than that.
Yeah, I saw the picture you posted on social media. It's crazy to think like somebody new in high school you're still working with. And that's just kind of the beauty of this industry, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
and
it's a small world.
Yeah, definitely. And you've had this really great career, and I think it's interesting to talk about Homeland because that show just ended this year. And obviously playing Jess Brody was a big part of your story. So what was the most rewarding part of being on that show?
There were a lot of things. The quality of you know, the people in general around you was stellar, from actors to writers to producers to directors that we got to work with. It was a really incredible experience that way. The material was really, you know, difficult in a good way, really heartfelt and emotionally connected. And that's always a privilege to be able to work that way. I really, really enjoyed representing a voice that is hardly ever heard, you know, the wife of a Marine and the experiences that she had in this really bizarro world that they created on that show.
Yeah, there's that stereotypical view of who that woman has been and also how that woman is supposed to act. And then it's like, maybe I just want to have my own life. And I kind of built my own life while my husband was overseas and I never thought I was going to see him again.
Yeah, there were a lot of nuances to that, the way that character was written that I really, really enjoyed playing. You know, she had her priority being her family. At the same time, she had her own needs and wants. And then she, you know, tried to do the right thing and support Brody again and be with him. And that just didn't work. And in a world where that is, you know, very much not okay, a lot of those wives are expected to stand by their man forever.
When you think about the other stuff that you've done, like what's most important to you when you're looking at a show or a movie? Obviously script is a big part of it, but what else do you value in your decision making?
The story overall. What kind of story are we telling? Are we shining a light on something that needs to be seen, or just telling a nice, entertaining story? You know, I tried to be responsible about what messages I'm putting out there for young women and people like myself. But really, just at the end of the day, something just speaks to me. It's very difficult to do an acting job that you don't connect with. Mm-hmm. So I try to avoid that. Sometimes you need a job. We're not all above eating. But I try very hard to, it's something that, you know, you have to do with your full being. You can't just kind of phone it in. So I try to just have it be emotionally connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure it's a give and take with that because obviously you've done these TV roles where you've been known for that. And I'm sure other work has sprouted up, but I'm sure there's also a challenge of people looking at you as a certain character and then trying to break out of that mold too. So how do you kind of finesse, you know, going through the different nuances of the industry that way?
I don't know. It just, honestly, it's not a very well thought out process. It's more like what comes your way, what do you chase, what jobs you fight for, what do you walk away from. You know, you sort of slowly start to build a body of work that is reflective, hopefully, of what you want to be doing. But it doesn't always work out that way. You know, it's very difficult when you have a job that is freelance in nature to know what is the next thing that's going to come. Do you hold out for that job that is really connected and emotionally, you know, feels good for you to do, or do you sometimes just need to earn a living?
I don't think people talk enough about how uncertain it can be just to be an actor. You could be in a hit series and then the phone's not ringing. Like people just think it goes one after the other. It's just not the case that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to try to think long game, you know, mm-hmm. Just it will come and you have to really be patient and not take things personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big part of it. When people check out your episode of the Twilight Zone, what are some big things you want them to be thinking about as they're going through the, you know, the interesting world that is there?
Yeah, I think we've all lately been grappling with, you know, what is life, what encompasses, you know, now that we've had to stay indoors a lot and minimize the things that we do, and our jobs have changed or been lost. I think that people have been grappling with this idea of what is important, what is, you know, needed, necessary. And I feel like that this episode deals a lot with that, with the sense of identity that you get from your life and from things and friends and things, jobs, things that feed you. And so I think it will really resonate.
Yeah, listening and learning is a big part of the moment right now, and I think this goes right with that. So Morena, thanks so much for jumping on. Be well, and we'll talk to you down the road, all right?
Thanks so much.